Kamnya ragani ke juk ke bamenta bensiam ya ki khun samla bakin penle jumut iladi ka kam thoh kam tar bat ban penmi ya ki kot namar baba bon sin laju saki baki khun samla ki juk penle jumut bat penlut ya ka por ka jongki tang ha ki social media hanrei ka don ka wei ka samla tang ha po lai banai kala ban thoh bat penmi hadu lai tili ki kot kani ka samla ka dei ka khun jong Dr. BPS toy bat ka kong esta m taryang ya ka bal tip kerteng kum ka Naphirisa ki taryang ka bal sedang ya ka kam thoh kot men ba ka dang dap tangkat pras membat Lyngba ka jingla jong kani ka samla kalalong shisha ka jingso sorong nak banta ka yeng kasem wat hadin ba ka samla Naphirisa kalala ban penmi hadu lai tili ki kot tang hapo lai banai kam sem lakut no henrei bandang pentibit chusu ya kasap ka phong ba ka don menta kala pen khre ban li pentibit chusu Cardiff University of Wales ya kasap tho ka jongka
yakni ka jing tho tengla sedang na du mensha bangadap khat prasnem ti ngakwa haba ha ka jinglong khana haba ngapet ingkong shaya ladi bat pangakwa ban yit yeladi he ngadon ha pangari ka benta jong ke imlang ka salang ti heji por jong heji mu jing per khat ibadang lung badang khana ti bun ki ki bangakwa ban ai pat ke imlang ka salang ban yarap pat ki ki khana ki jing tho ki jonga ben yakani ti ngashit tho men mit min sngi te ngam judala than man tho ti min mit dala thia baro ti ki wan ki jing mut jing per khat ki jing pusan ki ba bunjat tinga sas dang ban khi ban tho bunga bu bun sin tinga bu hi ki por min mit ken hadut kum kam tam the step ti kani ka baning kong ka ba ka di ka novel ka ba khot ka canvas of time Lyngba kani ngakwa ban I mynsiem ki we pat kham tam ki ni ki khana mo ngakwa ban kren ki bun ki le si ki khana ki bedang lit school ne ki bedang don hapo ki bedang kisdang man ki samla ngakwa ban ong ki ba kham tam ngatip ngai isin e ba bun ki mat Lyngba kani ka jingpang depression ki barong ngi mat ya kani mo bangi di ban yet ila dia bat habangi don ka jing yet ikanu ka ke bangi kwa don ki basu tanat ban khre kot ki don ki ba kwa long briu hajing im ki kwa don ban long ki don ki jimbun ki jing thumu hajing im ki don ki badon kanu ka passion ka ki don ki di ban yai yet ya kata ban yai le ya kata namar kata hi kawan ra jing mut ya ka jing im jong ki namar inu iwe di piwe khna ilong iba koridor ka jing im te ka jing im jong phi baro kolong ka ba koridor bat phi di bet ban yai pitang ya ka ba phi yet te kani ka ba arpat kadika kanir kadika poetry ka inspill pages kanir kadi ban I mynsiem hi ki khana but ru kani ka ba pa ka thosh phang ki ni ki social issues kani ka balai pat kadika tuck of words kani pat ngashim ya kini ki khana tang jong ki khasi ngapenwan ya kani ki khana tang jong ki khasi pan but ka jingmut jing per khat jong ki khana ki bomenta jong ka juk ka bomenta ka jing ya kren hapreng ki briu ki balarang ba ki ba im ka juk menshwa bat ki im ka juk menta bat kumno ba ki ba menshwa ru ki yo jingmut ki ba menta bat ki ba menta ru ki nang ban buram ki jingmut jing per khat ndi ban iben ban yo ben ka por ka layan hende ki yo jing mento iwe ni iwe te kani ka balai pat kadi ka nga translate na ka kot jong i papai bala tho ya ka Ann Jones ka missionary ka baning kong ka lok jong Thomas Jones tengla translate ya kani na khasi shaphareng but kani ru kadi ban pen ithu bali nga translate shaphareng khnang ba kan yo ka jing ithu ipau shwe pat but ru ba kan penwan ra ingi kata ka jing ithu ya ke ko Thomas Jones ula ai ingi ya kata ki dak tho mo but ru Lyngba ka jing rap jong ka lok jong uru ka jing I mynsiem ka jong ka ba kani ka ktien kam di tang bangin kren re ha ba bu ha ka jing tho ka la ru ban ai jing min toy ban tingshan ha ka linti yat jong ki ba hadin pat ki ban sawan ki kot ki long hi kum ki paralok ngi mo ki khna ha ba fil puli ki kot kam shong tang ba shu puli ka to ka jing ya tho khana tang kam long kum ta hedi ki don ki jat ki simbo jing per khat jong ki ni ki nong tho mo ki bale si ki bala ban kran yangi ki bunjat ki kot ki bunjat ki kom tho hendai nakatu ko kot fila ban yo tang khindet I simbo jing per khat ru ngathai kala shibun ban yarap ka jing im ka jongi thabangi ya thabreng kanu ka jing e ru ngi yo ru ka kham yar ka jing mut ka jing per khat ka jongi ru ka e ka bangamut ban ong mo long ngi di ban ya da ka jinget halade jinget ngidi ban pen shim koridor ka jinget ka baki wei ki briur ki don hangi habangi ya helen tingim ya marwei ngi don ki kimi ki kpa ki badan ka jinget hangi le se ki parolok ki badan ka jinget hangi lani ki no hikai mo tingim di ban yo ben ya kata ka jinget hoi ngim di ban namat kumbo ong ka ktin nong wei ya walk by feet and not by sight Nama dingi ya dah kajing yo I kiwan kini kila o jong kajing dumbon sin. Ni I kini ki jing penok mynsiem ha baki lek ha baki bonjat ki rukam mo ha bangi ya. Dia bangi ya dah kajing yet pat ngila ken ban yok het eta kajing job ha ka kasni. You so jong kajing job. Kani ti ngahaban ai ya ka I mei pa but I pa it parar kumjo. I may be pa but pa it kilong ki reshot ba ha kajing im kajonga banadu menshwa ha banga sedang hi ban tho ban yo kajing shluru litang na kajing I mynsiem ba kajing pin shlur jong ki na yin ti mentang ala yo admission ha po Cardiff University sha Wales ti kani kadi ka banga sedang na du dang rit hi kajing don kata kajing ang note ban chata kumbanga yo tip na du menchadang rit bang yo ite ki dak tho no Thomas Jones ti ban nga yo iru nakata nga yo ban puli ki we ki kot mo ki kot phasi khamtam ki poetry ki ba I mynsiem ha nga ki di jong so so tham khamtam tu ka poetry bang uklor khmi samla kan yalam lenti don uklor balam lenti mo ti katu ka pen angnot yang akum no ban let cha ta ka jaka ka ba wan kita ki bri ki ba ai ngi kita ki dak tho ti mentang let thi ban pen tibet shu ya ka sab tho ya kani ka kot te la ban yo ha po ka Amazon ka Flipkart ka Kindle ru yo
ya kini ki kot blatho dak samla Naphirisa ki taryang la plapai ba dak kong Rebecca vi susyang ka bade ka chief secretary jong ka chala megalia menta ka si ka khasau trek uramphang ha khasi national darbar hall bat ka kerteng jong kini kot bla plapai ba la ai kerteng the canvas of time talk of what ink spill page bat ka ans jun ka bla pen kala dak thin khasi sha phadeng ya ka blatho dok pa u Dr. BPS toy
those who dream by day are cognizant of many things which escape those people who dream by night. So imagination is the first step towards creativity. And creativity inspires, it brings about an inspiration. You do something. Creativity is when you do something, which inspires other people. It is the ability to express oneself, in the media of art, be it painting, poetry, writing, sculpting, fashion, so it brings out that creativity in you, being I feel that being among people are so creative, it rubs on you also. It engages the mind, it opens the heart, it blocks, habit. Habit is anathema to creativity. It kills creativity. All habits, it kills creativity and allows for non-linear thinking. It draws out your hidden talents and your inner capabilities. To be creative is to be challenged. To be creative is to be curious. To be creative is to be able to ask questions. To be creative is to experiment. To be creative is to test ideas. You may fail, but failure doesn't make you non-creative.
Beckons them not to be afraid to listen to what their heart throbs passionately for. So this canvas of time, it draws our attention to the well-worn phrase often repeated, the youth are the future, which provokes a compelling question of whether or not we allow the little spark within a child to grow into this blazing passion for a dream, or do we snuff out the spark insofar that the little child will be afraid by the sound of his or her own voice. So this beckons the adult readers or the society at large not to underestimate the vision of a child or the dream, because these sparks, when rekindled, this thirst for knowledge or the passion for any dream, can pave the way for these children to turn into thinking adults and responsible youth who will be the future. So the canvas of time, it sweeps you on a trail towards the last leg of the 20th century, when not much was available, yet the globalizing forces, they have entered the local context through impersonal forces like the television, the media. So you would see yourself in these little characters hurtling towards the television. If, as you remember that time, you have to press on the buttons, which were limited to just about 6 or 7 channels. So as they watch these young counterparts binging on hamburgers from McDonald's or chugging on coffee from Starbucks, though their sense of taste lacks experience, yet their sense of sight has altered their perception of progress, and it generates an awareness in them that life on the other side of the globe is streets ahead of theirs, which trains them to enter into this groove of the first world outlook, as we call it, where the gaze is fastened on the West. So as time sweeps you on a trail to the dawn of the 21st century, where you'll be swept up by the tide of changes brought about by globalization, and then as the scenario shifts from Calcutta then to China, where you'd arrive at the arrival of the technological boom, the futuristic advancements. And as I've mentioned earlier, that change is always an accompaniment of time. The gaze then shifts from the West towards the East, with the emergence of mass popular culture like K-pop, anime, and the emergence of these new novel digital trends. So then time sweeps you on a time where we now hear of talks about making life multi-planetary and the future colonization of Mars. But when life suddenly comes to a grinding halt, when it is heavily punctuated by this unheralded scourge of the coronavirus, we all think of the future as inevitable, with the talk swirling around the Great Reset, or the life following around the pandemic, of life after the pandemic. But time for the character in this novel, it translates into a very personal phenomenon. It is no longer bound by the clock time or by the calendar, because in the grip of the pandemic, time hinges on these very minute events, monumental moments spent amidst the people closest to our hearts. And in the grip of the pandemic, when we think in terms of the future, it becomes very personal as we think in terms of whether we can spend it or not with our loved ones. As we cannot hold back time, but we can always carry memories along with us to the future.